Alt Resources Limited, ASX ARS on the Australian Stock Exchange, is a progressive gold explorer, and coming up to be a producer with me right now is James Anderson, the CEO. Welcome, James.
Hey Tim, how are you? Good to see you.
Great to have you here, and
Thanks.
Very exciting news. So you've just upgraded your resource, but in a few short weeks you'll be going and producing a gold bar, the first of your gold bars. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the resource upgrade. So in a very short period of time, you've upgraded 4 times. Tell us the timeline on those upgrades.
Well, Tim, we started in March 2018, and since then we've had 3 resource upgrades at 400,000 ounces of gold and nearly 4 million ounces of silver. And just this week we've delivered our 4th upgrade, adding an additional 113,000 ounces of gold. So we've sort of hit that 500,000 mark now. We're at 519,000 ounces, so it's happened in a fairly short space of time, and for a small explorer like us, it's pretty well done.
Tell us how much drilling you needed to do. Now, 2 years isn't a very long time for a gold explorer to define such a large resource, but how many metres of drilling did you have to do to get to this resource?
Well, in total we've drilled about 35,000 metres of RC and 2,100 metres of diamond. But this last program, we only drilled 6,700 metres of RC and delivered 113,000 ounces. So it was pretty cost effective from an exploration cost standpoint, pretty much under $6 a resource ounce for delivery. So we're quite happy with that result. We think it's pretty well capital well spent. Yeah.
So at 500,000 ounces plus, and gold being roughly 2,200 Australian dollars an ounce, you've got $1 billion resource there.
Well, you've got $1 billion worth of gold in the ground. The resource, obviously needs to be turned into a reserve. Pretty lucky in how we've gone about this. Well, not lucky so much, but we've sort of planned the drilling program so that we ended up with a fairly high level resource in measured and indicated. So out of that resource, 60% is in measured and indicated. We've got over 300,000 ounces in those categories. So, once we develop the ore reserve statement and the pre-feasibility study, we'll probably be looking at, a reasonably good ore reserve, sort of looking to move in towards a production facility.
And so this is not something that you're planning next year. The feasibility studies are happening in the next few weeks.
Well, the feasibility studies have already commenced. We contracted Como engineers, who are a very well respected company in West Australia. They've commenced a couple of weeks ago. We're looking like delivering the PFS at the end of March this year, and our maiden ore reserve statement, and then the full feasibility study we're hoping to get by the end of June 2020. So yeah, it's fairly fast tracked. It's not that far away. And
you're not waiting for the feasibility studies to come through before organising your basic mining infrastructure. You're on that case already.
Yeah, well, Bottle Creek's probably pretty lucky in terms of the project itself, because it had a lot of legacy infrastructure there from the previous mining cycle when it was mined by North in the 80s. So, we've got roads, airstrips, tailings dams, we've got water bore fields, so all that sort of stuff's already there. In terms of us, we've installed camps, exploration camps, which we've expanded. So, we're sort of about to move into the small-scale mining operation. We've just lodged a mining approval for the Tim's Find project, which is a small toll treatment project, and we hope to generate some cash out of that in the near term. We expect to start operations there, pending the DMIRS's approval, around early April. So we see positive cash flow probably within 60 to 80 days after that starts.
And that's in about a month?
5 weeks, yeah. So we're sort of going from explorer into a developer and a producer. So it's pretty exciting times for the company. It'll be good to see it all sort of progress fairly quickly from now on.
Now everybody talks about, gold mining stocks being undervalued. And certainly Alt Resources is no exception here, but what you have is you've got a very clearly defined resource, fast-tracked, 4 resource upgrades in 2 years, and you're ready to go into small-scale mining.
Yeah, and a bigger picture, with the plant development process as well. I mean, the feasibility study we expect at the end of June, as I said, but we'll be looking at at a 750,000 tonne plant. So it's quite a reasonable size plant for this particular project. So it's rapidly evolving that way. I think that the Tim's Find is just part of that process. We try to like to get into the position where we're negotiating debt finance for the mine finance. One of the things we try and not do in the next near future is go back into the market looking to raise capital in the retail sector. I think dilution now would be have some negative effects on the share.
So the days of dilution are over. Now you're looking for partners to finance the infrastructure.
Look, we try and avoid diluting now. If we can put debt finance in place, as this progress, as the feasibility and the ore reserve and the feasibility study develop, then I think we probably will be able to avoid that. Yeah, that's one of the things we're trying to avoid now.
So it looks like in the short term we're going to see a big jump in the value of the company as you move closer to mining, and I think investors should be watching this space.
Well, it's hard to say. I think like many small companies, we're pretty well subject to the vagaries of the ASX on a daily and weekly basis. Look, we've delivered a lot of good information and we deliver a lot of good results, and we have days of fantastic liquidity and significant jumps in our share price. But it's an opportunist market. If people could see they could take 15 or 20%, I think they've been doing that, and it's really kept our share price subdued. But I expect that'll change over the next 6 months.
So for investors watching, Alt Resources ASX ARS on the Australian Stock Exchange. And James, thanks very much for coming in today.
Tim, pleasure. Good to see you again.